greed. And this pattern really are the criteria for gross national development product. And we're using the GDP as a sole indicator for progress. There's a lot of flaw in there because when the GDPs basically can come out of calamities, crimes, destruction of the environment. We don't make these connections because we don't want to see it. Waste also resulted from this gross development products, and we dump the waste, we distribute to weaker countries. And the financial crisis is actually epitomized the fact that we live beyond our own credit. And this credit, we tend to forget the credit comes originally from the natural resources. How far can we go living on credit without recognizing the degradation of the ecology? Recently, it was reported that we are consuming the resource that beyond our world can supply. For example, by 2030, you will be needing twice the resources the Earth can provide. And the same prediction was made 3 years ago. It was estimated by 2050 we will reach that point. Now it says it's 2030. So the financial crisis, I think, is not happening in isolation. It started in Southeast Asia, and it was predicted then that it would hit the US in 10 years' time. I think it's very accurate. And we tend to think that it will not have connection to us, but it will come back to haunt every one of us. And beyond that credit is that the ecological credit. When we change the ecology, what we do is that we produce an ecological deficit. How far can we live on the ecological credit card before we hit the ecological crisis? When we hit ecological crisis, I don't think anyone can bail us out or buy us out. We are all in the same boat. And if we don't work together, and if we ourselves individually don't make the link, what we consume, the way we conduct our life, I think we would not be helping in regaining the ecological deficit. I think the Mekong region, and especially Laos, we started late in the process of development. I think there's a chance, there's an opportunity to at least sustain or produce an ecological surplus rather than a deficit. And of course, Laos cannot do on its own. I think everyone would need to help, including the Lao people themselves. We feel that by producing electricity and being the battery for the Mekong region would bring us prosperity. But all of this is done at the expense of the ecology deficit. And I would like to suggest that we have to start with our education process. Let the young people be included and see that things are connected. And we have to start with connecting the education. Right now we separate math and science, language completely. And we see water as a commodity. We don't link it to life. We don't see that water actually is a source of life, and all lives are operating in chain of ecology. And if our young people are not taught how to do the link, and if we don't teach them to see that one day we will be consuming more than the ecology can produce, then we are in trouble. And this flaw in the education system, I think, is not only in Laos. We also learned it from other countries. But at the same time, there are good practices here and there. but somehow we are not trained to think in terms of linking systems, linking connections. Good practices happens in isolation. We do not seem to link them. We tend to, in fact, have a blind spot, turn a blind eye to this. If we're going to continue to destroy the ecology at the expense of the future generations, I think we are also we are not, allowing them. We are not giving them rights to survive like we do, to live like we do. And therefore, I'd like to conclude that education, it should be for sustainable development, not education to get certification and have to pay for get certification. Thank you.
Thank you, Kun Sombat, for that very compelling introduction. We do have a microphone placed there to take questions, and as per usual, I'll start off with the first question. When you do go to the mic, please state your name and organization, media or otherwise, and to whom you are addressing the question, and please keep it to one. This is a question I think perhaps best to Kun Sombat, is what has been done concretely from these civil society groups to actually have targeted advocacy with the ADB, looking at the Greater Mekong Subregion Plan, and what kind of progress or teeth do you think any of this has in really countering this massive PR mechanism at their disposal, that all is well with the GMS macroeconomic objective?
The bank would continue to be the bank and would continue to operate as a bank. And the people who work in the bank are people who are the product of the education system, which is basically doesn't make the connection between things. We all compartmentalize. And they learn to put prices on all resources and provide credit. And I think to ask the bank to be part of sustainable development, I think is very difficult because they have certain mandate, which is basically to give the loans. So they can be the role, they're part of the players, but we cannot rely on them too much. Right now, yes, they are very powerful. I think if we can reduce our consumptions, which is very difficult because we are trained to consume and compete and be greedy, if we can reduce our consumption, then we will not need so much credit. And the same thing for the Mekong region. If you don't use so much power the way you right now, very inefficiently, then there will be less demand. So we cannot depend on the bank only, but on ourselves also.
But I mean, they do wield that power, right? With they do wield the power to fuel the GMS forward, right?
Yes, they have the power, and they have competition now. If the bank, if the multilateral cannot provide the investment, the grant the credit for investment, the private sector can also. So right now, it's just there's so much credits available. And I like to see that credit is also an enemy if you don't use it properly. And right now we see credit is a savior. Of course, in the US, the government can bail out, but ecological credit, no one can bail us out. And you have to link that, the financial credit to ecological credit.
Question, please, Peter.
Peter Jansen, DPA. Yeah. Actually, I have 3 questions directed at the different panelists. Kun Premrudi, yeah? You said that this upcoming conference will start, or you're hoping it'll start, a real dialogue, I guess, among the civil society groups in the 6 participating countries, huh? According to your press release, there's something like 200 delegates coming. Can you give us some idea about the representation, specifically from countries like Laos? I mean, will there be NGOs from Laos? Are there NGOs in Laos that are going to participate in something like this? Will you have participants from China? Give us some indication that the outcome of this conference will actually be representative of civil society in these 6 countries. And Kun Sombat, maybe you can comment on that too. To what extent do you feel that the participants that are at this conference do represent Lao civil society? And Kun Suni, you mentioned China as a target for this upcoming conference. Are you hoping for some sort of a statement at the end of it that specifically is directed at China and demands some sort of responsibility for the downstream impact that their dams that are already in place are going to have?
So we'll start with Kun Premrudi first.
Thank you for the question. As you see, the title of the conference is about the Mekong mainstream dam voices across border. For the journalists who monitor the issues, you might know that it's not 2 years yet. No, it's almost completely 2 years that the group in the region start to talk and work together on these issues. I don't think we can completely say we will have the dialogue with the actors in relate to the Mekong mainstream for now. For example, the ADB refused to come to this conference. We might have a lower rank of the ADB person come in, but I mean all the high ranks of the ADB that we invited all refused to come to the conference. But we do have the mechanism like the Mekong River Commission, Jeremy Bird, the new CEO, along with the fishery the head of the fishery department of the MRC will be with us for the whole 2 days. I think this is, I need to point out that for this conference, we might say that this is the way we try to open the space for the civil society group to speak. In the past 2 years on the Mekong mainstream, it has been very little space that we have or we can own in order to really express what the people are concerned about this mainstream. So I might talk about this conference as the opening space and the forum for the, it's a public forum. And this is the way we worked, right? We try to bring everything to the public because we cannot have the behind the scene dialogue. And the key thing is that we never get the real answer from the actors that relate to the mainstream dam. What are they really have in hand to prove about the impact or about the impact that will not happen? It's all the doubt, and we hope that this conference will bring up these issues, will be available for the both sides to talk, to declare their own knowledge, wisdom, their own concern. And at least I think for the actor, like the one who tried to push on this Mekong mainstream dam will go back with the ideas of how people are concerned about this, and what do we know about this in relate to the key issues, for example, energy issues. So in relate to your question about the people from the region, yes, we do have at least 10 representatives from each Mekong country, from the NGO basically, some of the local people, the media also come from China, Laos and Cambodia. We do have 24 people from Cambodia specifically. It's the biggest group. Around nearly 15 from China. So we do have all the members from the 6 Mekong countries here. And I have to say that most of the people are the young generation, the young activists who start to monitor very closely to the issues. Very exciting group from the region, I can say. And we will have around 230, 250 people. So it might be a little bit crowded on the 12th especially, but of course we do hope to see you in there as well. Thank you.
And what was the official reason given for the ADB for not participating on the senior level?
It might because the ADB have the office in the region and also in Manila, right? We invite them from Manila basically because we understand that the one who can really give the opinion on the issues, and also we invite them because we would like them to be the discussion, like listening from what we have, and then they can give the comment. We don't need any kind of debate, no, in this level. But it's regret that we will not come to listen. But we still hope that we can convey the message that we have to them, in the near future.
But what was their reason for not coming?
No reason, no real reason. They're not available. That's it.
And did you
they
push
cannot.
hard for that, or?
We invite them formally, send a letter, and trying to call to the office, asking if they can come, or they send somebody who can comment on this. So yeah, we don't. I cannot say that we have the kind of dialogue or negotiation or something. We do not do this. We invite them. So if they cannot come, they said they cannot come. That's it. Because we suppose they recognize what the conference is talking about, what we are talking about in this conference.
But do you think that their noticeable absence from this symposium will limit
Because
the
on,
efficiency of what you can actually achieve concretely, or?
After the Manila people cannot come, we invite them from the office in Thailand as well. And I'm not sure, they're still uncertain if they will send someone. So as I said before, if somebody will come from the ADB, there will not be maybe in the group of the people who involved directly to the plan of the Mekong dams. Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody said you need them, right? Yeah.
And the next question was for Kun Sombat, part 2, regarding Lao PDR's representation.
How many people are from Laos? 10 people, so 10 to 12. But they're also mostly young people learning. I think basically they come here to learn, to be informed, and that's why things are being done without the public knowing about it. I think it's not only in Laos, but more so in Laos, in other countries also. And we need to have more frequent dialogues like this, so that we keep informed. I think the information should flow both ways, and so to encourage participation. And the question about civil society, I think civil society does exist in Laos, but in a rather different form. The West tend to see it more legalistically, and we tend to see it more socially. Instead of having a legal contract, we tend to have a social contract where we help each other. Of course, now we are at the stage where there's a push for legal recognition of the social contract, and I think the most important thing, if people are well informed, they can voice their opinion. That's the key. How you call it, it doesn't matter. But for example, in Laos, our young people have access to, they have their own radio and TV programs, which is free, if you know how to request it. And we have the monks also who have their own radio and TV programs, free also, of charge also. But at the same time, we had to compete with the government, voice, and also the private sector who advertise their products. Civil society is important. I think that legally the Lao government is not quite ready for it. They are watching. What they're watching for is result. If they see success from civil society, they tend to promote it. But if they see the negative impacts, and then they tend to resist it. And so there are groups of people who want to promote, and there are group people who said, wait a minute, wait and see. Just to state the point, my organization, which is PADEC, which stands for Participatory Development Training Center, we are registered as a training center on the Ministry of Education, but we operate like no different than what other people are operating. Of course, there's a certain area we cannot push, but we continue to push to the point that we are tolerated. And I think the most important is, what can you do? If you can just voice and complain and scream but have no impact, it's one thing. But a lot of work we've done had come into policy, but in rather subtle and non-threatening way. So civil society, I think we are learning.
And finally, quickly, the third question was directed at Kun Suni. Peter, again, I'm sorry, I just... on China. Was that covered for you? Okay, then. Okay.
อ๋อค่ะก็คิดว่าสิ่งที่เราพยายามจะบอกในการจัดครั้งนี้เนี่ยก็คือว่าพยายามเชิญทุกฝ่ายมารับรู้ข้อมูลที่ตรงไปตรงมาเพียงแต่ว่าน่าเสียดายที่ว่าภาครัฐบางส่วนอาจจะไม่ได้มาเต็มที่นะคะ
What we hope for this conference is we invite all the actors, the sector to come and listen, share the information and have more understand about the issue. But probably no, we don't have everyone that we hope they can come. For example, the government side.
จีนอาจจะถูกระบุในฐานะที่เป็นประเทศต้นทางของลำน้ำแต่ว่าแท้ที่จริงแล้วโครงการนี้เนี่ยเกี่ยวข้องกับประเทศจำนวนมากค่ะ
Of course, that China is in the upper Mekong side, but one thing everyone knows is that whatever happened in the upper part of the Mekong is affect to the lower Mekong.
เพราะฉะนั้นก็อาจจะถือว่าเตือนประเทศจีนในฐานะที่ว่าวันนี้เนี่ยรวมทั้งประเทศที่มาลงทุนรวมทั้งประเทศอย่างประเทศไทยที่ไปลงทุนรวมทั้งเตือนรัฐบาลลาวรัฐบาลอื่นๆว่าทุกคนไม่สามารถจะทำอะไรตามใจชอบได้ทั้งหมด
And of course, and what we would like to do is to warn China about their own role and responsibility, the same as what we would like to do with our own country, Thailand, that you cannot keep going ahead with your own plan without understanding or talking to other countries.
รวมทั้งแม้แต่รัฐบาลลาวกัมพูชาเวียดนามก็ไม่ใช่ว่าตัดสินใจอย่างง่ายๆว่าจะรองรับโครงการลงทุนเหล่านี้ได้ตามใจชอบเช่นกัน
And of course, along this way, we hope that the country like Laos and Cambodia, for example, would not make a too easy decision not to accept the investment of the big countries. We need some better consideration on this together, us all.
Thank you. Andrew?
Hi, Andrew Burke. I'm a freelance journalist and also author of the London Planet Guide to Laos. And this is a question for Sombat. Mr. Sombat, there's often talk about environmental impact statements. Can you tell me whether environmental impact statements are actually studies are carried out for the proposed dams in Laos, and if they are, whether they're released to the public, and if that happens, whether you feel that that's a satisfactory process?
If you want my opinion, I think the EIAs are not properly conducted, and public participation is not public conducted. And who's to blame? I think both the government and also the investor. And the people who have money tend to determine which consultant to hire. If they don't report in a certain way, they get fired. And the two are working together, the government and the private sector. The public is on the receiving end.
One more quick question. You say that there's 10 to 12 delegates, young people from Laos coming to this conference. Are you confident that they won't be harassed in any way by the Lao government for doing this?
I think the Lao learn how to survive together, how to live together. We always smile at each other. We know when to say no, and we can say yes without actually saying yes. So we have our own ways, and there are surprises occasionally, but I think these young people, they will not be harassed, and they know the limits, what they can do and say. Yes.
Next question. Are you queuing up for a question there? Well, I'd like to, while we're waiting for the next question, step it back again because I haven't quite heard from any of you yet what concretely, specifically, you think civil society can do to put some teeth into this Mekong River Commission. What power, if any, does it have? And what have been the failures that you're aiming to strengthen by having more public participation and civil society participation to counter what you seem to be describing as these sort of monolithic powers from private sector and ADB. in bringing forward these human rights and environmental issues to the fore. Perhaps starting with Kun, we haven't heard actually from, I think Dr. Surachai, we haven't heard from you. Can we maybe begin with you, sir?
What power does civil society have? What kind of power? I think the challenge we are facing is not the type of power that we may think about, we are accustomed to. I think you see the power of money, the power of force, both are not with civil society or community groups. That's to be clear. So it is very. I think we are now only entering in a very big. In a situation where there were so big gaps between money power, force, political power or force, are in the hands of the decision makers that so far do not have space for communities or for people who are affected. So my point is that. Not that kind of power that to substitute political power or money power, but power to be heard, power to move together to a common future. So that type of power need a new thinking together. I think in that sense, we don't look at the governments or civils or banks as one singular force, but to see how we can have opening spaces for interaction, so that all these people also would be concerned for a common challenge of our common future, not only profits, not only short-term gains of projects, project owners, but so far I think this has not been the case. So this is only an opening, and we hope for a more sustained process of this type. So I think the teeth, what kind of teeth do we hope to have from this meeting? I think we hope rather for more productive interactions and more trust created among peoples in the region. Trust that has been lost or easily lost by the talking about national interest or economic interest of competition. In fact, we have a common river, we have a common future. So I think for that, you see, we need a different kind of power to be working together.
But can any of you just simply state what the objectives are? Are you going to be going to the ADB Board of Governors or to the Mekong River Commission with a regional comprehensive set of demands or requests? Or
it is clear that the Mekong River Commission is recognizing this type of gaps. But like, for example, November 25,